How do we pursue all our dreams with only 24 hours in a day?
How do we learn to love ourselves despite all of our flaws?
How do we strive to be better when perfection can't really be attained?
Hello, madams!
It's your internet Atis again, answering your questions and figuring out our own answers as we go along.
I am Rizza LANA-SEBASTIAN.
I am Ayn Bernos.
And you're listening to the Bootcamp for Grown-Ups in Progress,
Camp Confidence.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bootcamp for Grown-Ups in Progress,
Camp Confidence! Hello mga madam and welcome back to another episode. I'm so excited that we've gotten along this far into the season and hopefully na-enjoy nyo yung bagong format, yung bagong sistema, and how we're doing things recently. So let us know in the comments or tag us at Camp Confidence Radio how you've been enjoying this. So, Madam Rizza, how do you feel naman so far about everything going on?
I feel great. I really feel grateful of all of the things that's currently happening right now. Ang ating magandang setup. Per. And really just very happy in general.
And I like that you said that because happiness is what we're going to be talking about today. And I feel like it's something that a lot of people just want to pursue in general. Obviously, sino bang hindi gusto
Syempre,
maging
no?
masaya? So, yan ang i-deep dive natin today. What does it mean to be happy? Ano ba ang happiness? Ano maging masaya? Kung nagbago ba or nag-evolve ang definition natin of happiness and all that jazz.
Yep.
So, are you ready, guys? If you guys have any input sa ating usapan today, just let us know. Alam nyo naman, we love hearing from you guys. So, let's start with our personal thoughts on happiness. So, ano nga ba ang meron ang taong happy?
Ako, I would say, with the wisdom that I currently have right now. Ayan, bilang ang dami ko ng wisdom hair, ayan po. Kung nanonood po kayo on YouTube and on Spotify, makikita nyo ang aking wisdom hair. I really feel like ang mga taong masaya are the people who are unconditional with their happiness. Tipong hindi external yung nagpapasaya sa kanila.
Interesting.
Kung ano yung nasa loob nila. Ano ba, how secure am I with myself? How secure am I with my relationships? How secure am I with my career? Ganon.
Do you think, since you said big word, unconditional, do you think happiness is something that can fluctuate then? Kasi kung unconditional, ibig sabihin, kahit anong mangyari, masaya. Is that what it is? Or
Siyempre, nagpa-fluctuate pa rin. Kasi, let's be real, na hindi naman na, kunwari, may delubyo, happy ako, ganon. Alam mo yun? Parang, I feel like there are still levels of happiness. Yung tipong, kunwari, 100% happiness, 10% happiness, 50% happiness. But I feel like, kasi unconditional happiness is so hard to achieve. Kasi kahit ako, hindi pa rin ako unconditionally happy. Marami pa rin mga external validations na, alam mo yun, nag-aano sa akin. Hindi pa rin ako ganun ka-confident with my happiness right now. Pero it's something that's achievable, I would say. It's hard.
meron ka bang person in mind na you think, oh, this person has achieved happiness? Ganon. Ako inisip ko si Oprah.
Oo nga, no?
Feeling ko lang.
Ano kayang nagpapalungkot sa kanya?
I feel like when I listen to her podcast, ano nga pangalan ng podcast ni Oprah? Super Soul. Super Soul Sundays with Oprah or something like that. But anyway, parang it's very enlightened. And I think if I were to look at somebody who seems so happy and at peace, it's someone like her. I don't know. I could be wrong, obviously, kasi hindi ko alam nangyayari sa kanya. Pero in my head, how I would define somebody who is at their happiest, it's someone who has been so enlightened by life and is accepting na of everything that happened to them, past tense, and will happen to them, future tense. As in, meron na lang silang acceptance of what they have, what they will have, and what will be taken away. Na parang there's just so much peace.
Na sobrang zen nila,
Na
na
sobrang
kahit
zen.
anong mangyari.
Oo, parang I think, yun yung vision ko of what it's like to be unconditionally happy. But on a more realistic level, on a more realistic, practical level, for me, what I define as happiness is the ability to find gratitude
And contentment.
and contentment in situations. Pero may time, somebody told me, kasi tinanong ako like, what's your definition of happiness? And I was like, it's gratitude. It's being able to look at what you have and be grateful for them. But then sabi sa akin like, yeah, but that's not the same. Like parang sabi, you can be content pero hindi ka naman sobrang saya. So I'm like, what?
Hindi ba siya parang tied?
Nag-coincide.
And, oo.
That's what I thought initially. Kaso binigyan ako ng existential crisis.
Sige
Sinabi
na
sa
nga,
akin.
ilabas mo yan.
Okay, so parang
Paano?
binigyan niya ako ng existential crisis na you can be content without necessarily being happy. Tapos parang, huh? Kasi ako, to me, contentment is happiness.
Or, it could also be that you are contented but you're not 100% happy na. Talagang dancing with happiness, etc. It might be that 10% happy.
Or maybe, okay, here's another thing na maybe what was different about our conversation with that friend of mine. Maybe magkaiba kami ng definition of contentment.
That too.
Kasi, you know what? I think maybe for some people, contentment is like settling.
Yung pwede na to, kontento na
Oo.
ako sa kung anong meron ako.
Yes, I think that's the difference. Like, maybe there's a kind of contentment na, okay, pwede na to. And then there's a kind of contentment na, wow, there's so much.
Yeah.
And I think for me, maybe that's why I equate happiness with contentment and gratitude. Kasi it's more of, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yun yung definition ko ng contentment. It's like being able to look at what you have and being so grateful for it and so happy about it and not necessarily settling. So yun yung main difference.
I think para siyang masaya ako sa kung anong meron ako at kung anong wala pa ako. Pero I will keep on striving. I will keep on working hard. And I'm happy with whatever result it might get me.
I think I remember this episode we did with Josh na he was speaking about like the endless striving na parang he finds contentment in the middle of striving. And I think that's so cool because not a lot of people will be able to find that in the middle of the process. Kasi minsan, parang we wanna be there, we wanna get to where we want to be before we grant, okay, permission to be happy, di ba?
Magiging masaya lang ako kapag naging ganito na ang amount ng pera sa bangko. Or magiging happy lang ako kapag na-promote ako.
Or pagka numipis yung bewang ko, mga ganon. And it's hard to put like a milestone to happiness. Kasi parang, I feel like everybody deserves to be happy at any point if kakayanin.
Tsaka I think disiplina din talaga siya, madam eh. Na you can exercise your muscle of choosing to be happy. Kasi marami sa buhay natin na hindi talaga masaya. Aminin natin yun. Yung realidad ng buhay, minsan, there might be people who are struggling financially, physically, emotionally, mentally. Pero yung pag-exercise mo ng right mo to be happy, I feel like kailangan lang natin i-remind sa sarili natin na karapatan nating maging masaya.
Yeah.
And may control tayo sa pagpili ng magpapasaya sa atin.
Yeah. And I like that you mentioned how, the different struggles. Kasi like, there are factors that get in the way of happiness. Like, obviously, financial struggles, mental struggles. And I would always go back to the time na I was not yet in therapy kasi now I'm in therapy, so I obviously have the help that I need for anxiety, for depression. Pero when I look back at the time when I was really struggling without professional help, inisip ko, I was choosing to be happy. I was choosing to be happy, but I wasn't there yet.
Mhm.
I was choosing it in the sense na I asked for help. I was choosing happiness in the sense na I didn't give up on myself. I was choosing it in the sense na kahit na I'm struggling with anxiety and depression, I knew that I deserved more than that. You know? So sometimes maybe we don't have happiness in our hands at the moment, but we should always know that that's something that we deserve. That's something that we have to have.
Agree. Another example would be nung time na gusto kong balikan yung mga times na lubog kami sa utang. 'Di ba? We were in debt, 5 million in debt.
Oh my gosh.
Binalikan ko. Oo, may episode kami about that. Gusto kong balikan yung feeling ko that time na I was feeling so hopeless. Ano ba yung pwede kong magawa? Ano yung pwede kong gawin? Paano ba ako sasaya? Sa time na sobrang, that might be one of the darkest moments of my life na gusto kong balikan. Paano ko ba piniling maging masaya that time? I think ang mentality ko noon was, ang mindset ko that time was, lubog ako sa utang ngayon, pero ano yung mga pwede kong magawa para makaahon. I feel like yun yung naging coping mechanism ko kumbaga hindi na ako nagpalamon sa kalungkutan. Kasi iniisip ko na hindi ko naman deserve to. Parang hindi naman, I don't think na buong buhay ko ay magsasuffer ako. Kasi naniniwala talaga ako na life is meant to be enjoyed. But how am I able to enjoy this life kung ganito ang sitwasyon ko financially? So, yun nga, I tried to cope, sources of income, etc. And being grateful talaga sa araw-araw na gusto kong balikan na malungkot talaga ako that time. Pero being grateful na andyan si Josh, kadamay ko siya. Kasi 'di ba that time si Josh lang yung may alam na lubog kami sa utang. Walang ibang may alam, family, friends, walang ibang may alam. So kaming dalawa lang talaga yung nag-feed sa isa't isa ng hope, ng gratitude na okay lang kahit wala tayong pera ngayon, at least ganito. Mga ganon.
I think nung inisip ko, 'di ba, we said happiness is contentment or happiness is gratitude. I think happiness is also hope. I think, wow.
Hopiness.
Gawa tayo ng frame.
Hopiness.
Gawa tayo ng framework. Parang may iba-iba siyang definitions. Like happiness could also be hope. Na parang right now it's not there, but you know, you're optimistic enough to know that it'll get better. It's the belief that it can be better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yun. But anyway, that being said, going to a lighter side, do you remember the first time you ever felt happy?
When I was a kid,
Mm-mm. Yeah, as in the first moment na parang,
na-feel ko
This is happiness.
consciously na, oh my God. Okay, I remember this one time, Christmas siya, na binigyan ako ng favorite ninang ko ng manicure set.
manicures!
Diba? Bata pa lang, maarte na. Siguro mga grade 3 ako nun. I had this super cute manicure set na talagang may mga fake nails, ganon. Tapos may mga nail polish na natatanggal, tanggalable. Ayun, ang saya-saya ko talaga nun. Tapos binigyan din niya ako ng Polly Pocket. That's my favorite ninang. And I aspire to be like her.
Goals. The ninang who gives the best gifts.
Yun siguro. It was definitely pegged sa material stuff nung baby,
taon ka na?
bata. Grade 3? Ilang taon ba pa grade 3? 10, mga ganyan.
Ako,
How about you?
I remember this because I had this conversation with my sister when siguro during the pandemic nung wala tayong ibang magawa kundi makipag-usap sa mga tao sa bahay. So we had this conversation. Tapos parehas kami ng sagot. Our first memory of happiness was nung pinanganak yung bunso namin. Slay! Owen! Pag sinasabi mong na-OP ka sa amin, parehas kaming happy when you were born. As in, when yun talaga yung first memory of happiness ko. Cause I was 7, Eileen was 4, I think, kasi 3 years apart kami. Tapos Owen, 4 years siya from Eileen. Tapos, I remember that day, at that time, we had our kasambahay, sabi niya, nanganak na, tinext kasi siya tinext siya ni daddy, I think, na parang, pinanganak na, it's a boy, ganyan, ganyan. Tapos, I remember, I was home and then when I went to school, sinabi ko pa sa teacher ko na, ayun nga, I have a brother, may bunso na kami, may baby brother kami. And Eileen had the same memory. So yun yung for both of us. It was our earliest memory. Yeah, and I think it's still very true to this day. To me, like family is always like the core of my being. So ayun. That's my earliest memory of happiness.
But ngayon naman, ngayon na nag-mature na tayo, when was the last time? Or siguro yung pinaka-high mo?
The most recent one na I was like, oof, happiness. I was in Spain. This was before my boyfriend followed me. So mag-isa pa ako sa Spain. Tapos recently to nung bumalik ako. From our last episode, if you listen to our travel episode, I talked about that. Anyway, so I was in this park. I prepared yung snacks ko, ganyan, bumili lang ako sa grocery store. Tapos, na-realize ko, nakaupo ako doon, tapos na-realize ko, shucks, I brought myself here. Tapos parang it was such a full circle moment, especially after the pandemic. It was so uncertain. And then moving back home from my job in Spain, parang I felt like, shucks, everyone wants to work abroad. Tapos umuwi ako. I felt like such a failure. Parang, alam mo yun, umuwi ako to be a content creator. And if you say that to people, it doesn't make sense. Like, why would you give up a job abroad to be a content creator? Parang, a lot of people doubted that. But then when I went back to Spain and I was able to do that, tas alam mo yun, hindi, madam, grabe talaga one of the things that I really was worried about, super anxious ko when I was in Spain. Kinakabahan ako mag-check ng ATM. Kinakabahan kasi ako na pag-check ko, wala na, or negative. Natatakot talaga ako noon. As in, lagi akong may kaba tuwing pupunta ako sa ATM. Tapos nung na-realize ko, nakaupo lang ako doon, tapos wala akong inaalala. Parang, wow. Yeah. And then I realized na parang I was just so grateful because again, it wasn't something that I just did myself. It was a lot of opportunities, people giving me opportunities as well, community building me up. And so it was a lot of gratitude for whatever put me in that position to be able to get there. So yun talaga yung most recent parang first full circle moment ko of happiness. Parang, I get to do that. So yun, ikaw.
Ako naman, it was December 2020. Pandemic. It was, I remember I was so tired. I was so tired kasi 'di ba Q4 lahat naman tayo pagod, especially nung pandemic. Kasi nung time na 'yon, doon talaga lumakas yung e-com. And then I remembered I had so much mixed emotions. Napagod ako, but at the same time, umiiyak ako sa saya. Kasi, that time, wow, naitawid namin yung 2020 with my team, with my family, na, alam mo yun, somehow, naka-help yung business with the livelihood of other people. Na, alam mo yung tipong sobrang physically tired ka, but at the same time, you had the gratitude and fulfillment na naitawid natin yung 2020.
Yeah, and that was not an easy year at all.
It wasn't talaga. Yung mental struggle, physical struggle, financial, alam mo yun, na yung anxiety na, shocks, kaya ko bang maitawid yung 2020? Yun siguro yung masasabi kong happiness in the midst of
chaos.
Para siyang, I'm in the eye of the storm.
Yeah. Such a crazy, Pero like when you have those moments and you realize na you're capable of getting through those, you realize that you're capable of so much more.
Totoo.
And I feel like when you're at the eye of the storm, those are such core memories that make you realize na the next time you deal with something so awful, you're like, napagdaanan ko nga yun eh.
Kaya ko na yan. Naitawid ko nga yung ganito eh. Yun. Ay.
Yung naalala ko, Miss Universe. Miss Universe was like such a pivotal moment in my life, but at the same time, it was such a struggle because ang dami kong bashers. Sobrang dami ko talagang bashers. Ang dami kong, like, mentally, I had to deal with so much. But then, every time I deal with something and then I go back to that, I'm like, come on. Like, I've heard everything. Wala na kayong masasabi sa akin. That's,
Can hurt me anymore.
yeah, I mean, I joined Miss Universe Philippines and came out alive. So, wala na akong...
Grabe yun.
Grabe talaga yun. And I really have a lot of respect for pageant queens who, oh my gosh, ang hirap. Like, even if manalo ka,
Oo.
a lot of people
Marami
will
pa ring
say
sinasabi.
a lot of things to you. So, yeah, ang mahirap talaga. But that being said, there's a concept that we want to discuss. Because sabi dito, there's a piece by TV writer and love guru Noreen Kapili, aka Noringay. Tama ba yung pronunciation ko? Sorry po kung hindi mali yung pronunciation ko. But on her first book, ang first book niya, parang kayo pero hindi, titled Pleasure versus Happiness. So, narinig daw niya sa homily yung definition na pleasure is momentary and happiness is lasting. Would you agree with this one if happiness is lasting and pleasure is fleeting? Tapos, in that regard, like, kung happiness is lasting, then what is happiness?
Pang matalino naman yung
Oo. Matalino tayo, ano ka ba?
Matalino tayo.
Oo.
Camp confidence. I would say na yes, pleasure is momentary and happiness is lasting. Kasi as we defined nga kanina, 'di ba, na with happiness there are different levels. Unconditional happiness, 'di ba? When you step onto that kind of enlightenment in your life na you can always choose to be happy. So yes, I believe na kaya mong piliing maging masaya no matter what. With pleasure kasi parang I feel like it's kunwari, momentary high. Kunwari, okay, my first million, ang saya ko. And then after that, what's next?
That's so true. Like, I remember, parang pag inisip ko yung milestones, like, for example, 1 million on TikTok. That's like, yes, I was happy, but it's not something that I go back to. It's not something, it's not a moment in my life that I go back to na parang, oh my gosh. Like, I always go back to my first million on TikTok. In fact, like, that's something that gives me dread sometimes because I wonder, will I ever achieve that again? Alam mo yun? But then, if I compare it to something that made me truly happy, and something that truly made me happy was, for example, yung looking at my dad's reaction when I surprised my family na, oh, I'm gonna pay for a staycation.
Yeah.
And then I remember my parents' faces. Parang, yun versus hitting that milestone at work, ang iba niya. Sobrang, they're two very different things. And
Sobrang magkaiba talaga kapag material happiness versus your core memory kind of happiness eh. Kasi, like, getting your first ever mahal na camera. Ang saya ko. Pero parang what? Gano'n lang ba yun maglalast? 1 day, 1 week, 1 month? Pero if you go back to that core memory na nalibre mo yung mga kapatid mo ng Billie Eilish concert. Diba?
ang saya talaga.
It was really, it was a core memory for us. Very tight-knit kasi namin ni Miko and ni Louie, yung brother and sister ko. And it was so surreal. Sabi ako, it was my first ever concert na na-attendan ko. Na legit, alam mo yon, hindi yung parang sa barangay na pa-concert ka na. Tas wala lang, nagiiyakan kami na parang
Imagine
habang kumakanta kami. Tapos yun. Tapos parang lagi na namin siyang nire-relive na parang, oh my gosh, core memory to.
Yeah. It's so interesting how, yes, they are both things that you can buy, but they're different in the sense na iba yung pinanggalingan niya. Iba yung pinanggalingan niya, iba yung effect niya, and how it really imprints into your memory. That's interesting. Okay, but next question is happiness subjective? Okay, let's go to my personal experience. Let's say, I say na, what makes me happy is being a size 0. But then, I say that that's my happiness, but also maybe I don't know what other happiness is out there pa that I could have. I would say I don't know. That's it's actually kind of hard. Like happiness is for sure subjective, but I wish people could achieve the kind of happiness that doesn't feel difficult to achieve. Gets. I don't know if
Yeah.
I'm making sense, guys, but like parang one of the hardest things to achieve, at least for me, was realizing na merong happiness na libre
Yeah.
na hindi ko alam possible pala until mentally I was there.
Ako kasi sobrang madali kong ma-please na tao. Sobrang babaw kong tao na kahit I love getting free food. Alam mo yung tipong kapag may sakit ako at bibigyan mo ako ng sardinas with pechay, masaya ako. Parang it's not ngayon na mas may wisdom na ako, I realize na hindi pala talaga material na bagay ang nagpapasaya sa'yo. And I hope other people realize that eventually. Kasi, at the end of the day, in your deathbed, ano yung maaalala mong mga core memories na nagpasaya sa'yo? Yun ba is because nakabili ka ng phone? Or is it because napamili mo ng grocery yung parents mo? Alam mo yung mga ganon? Na I hope ma-realize din ng ibang mga tao yun. Pero kasi I also feel like with happiness, it has different levels. Meron talagang mga stages in our life na, oh my gosh, ang nagpapasaya sa akin ay bag. Ang nagpapasaya
True.
sa akin ay sapatos. And that's perfectly fine. And I feel like there are different levels of happiness. Okay, material muna ngayon, and then kapag medyo afford na natin ngayon, merong level ng happiness na memories naman ang ireregalo mo. And then, kapag natapos ka na sa memories, parang there's a level na enlightenment na talaga. Na kontento ako kung anong job ko ngayon, kontento ako sa kung anong meron ako ngayon, no matter what's inside my bank account, because you are secured na. Kumbaga para siyang hierarchy pa rin.
What we always talk about, like being a work in progress. Even happiness is a progress. Happiness is something that we constantly evolve to see as, or how do I say that? Happiness is something that continues to evolve for us. Like our definition of happiness will always evolve. It's always gonna be different each time. Especially depende kung nasan tayo. Like last year, maybe my happiness was a Prada bag. But also, like a few years back, happiness was looking at my bank account and knowing it's not zero. You know? And sometimes happiness is being able to wake up at 6 a.m. and not 10 a.m. And sometimes happiness is seeing my dog. Or like happiness is also being able to quit a job you don't like, you know? And it's just really interesting that happiness can look
Different
different
talaga
talaga.
eh.
Iba-iba
And yes,
talaga.
it's definitely subjective.
Okay, so we all agree it's
Yeah.
consensus. Happiness is subjective. It's different for everyone.
Kayo, anong tingin nyo? Let us know in the comments below.
Ano ang nagpapasaya
Yes.
sa inyo? What do you feel like to you at this moment in your life? What is happiness? And if you're not content with that definition of happiness in the future, what do you hope happiness would look like for you? Ikaw, yun yung last question ko before we wrap up this episode. If at the end of your life, like, what is your goal na definition mo ng happiness? Like, what kind of level of happiness do you wanna get to?
Ako definitely, when I am able to tell myself that I gave my all to help other people, to help my family, and to help myself, get to a point na matutulungan ko silang maging masaya rin. As in, alam kong binigay ko lahat. Pangalawa is peace of mind. It's definitely so costly, but it's something that I really want to achieve, madam. In my deathbed, gusto kong, I am at peace, I am contented, I was able to help other people.
Feel ko ma-achieve mo naman siya before ka mag-deathbed. Feel ko na ma-achieve mo yan sa retirement. Yeah.
Manifesting.
I mean, I think it's that. Pagka ano ka na, mas chill ka na as a lola. Ganon.
I'm the favorite lola.
At the end of my life, if I were to define happiness and the kind of thing that would make me happy, it would be being so ready to face death na alam ko na experience ko na lahat. Nagawa ko na lahat. Like, parang wala na akong hihingin pa. Like, let me rest. Ganon. Yeah.
Alam mo, madam, nabasa ko sa book called Untethered Soul. Ano daw death, hindi daw tayo dapat matakot sa death. We should befriend death. Kasi we know na at the end of our life, dapat masabi natin sa death na, I gave my all. I enjoyed my life. I tried everything I wanted to try. So, having that end in line na nakikita mo siya, dapat daw enjoyin mo yung buhay. Kasi maikli ang buhay and it's really meant to be enjoyed.
So, ayun, wag tayo matakot mamatay, guys. But yes, that I hope one day we get there. But right now, ayoko pa, hindi pa ako ready. So Lord, keep me here on earth for a little while. Dami ko pang gagawin.
True.
But that's the kind of happiness that I hope I one day achieve. But right now, if you ask me, it's gratitude, it's contentment. So anyway, thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of Camp Confidence. If you enjoyed this episode or if you have any thoughts, if you have anything that you want to discuss, you can comment ahead on our YouTube channel. Or if you want to tag us on Instagram or Twitter, you can do that as well at Camp Confidence Radio. Tapos, if you're listening on Spotify, don't forget to follow and subscribe and give us a 5-star rating. Thank you guys so much for listening, and we hope to see you on the next one. Bye!